Boom. There we go. All right. Finally, almost 10 minutes late, but we made it here to today's stream. So welcome into our delayed stream. Something went goofy with...
We were busy manscaping, actually.
Oh, yeah. Manscaped. Lawnmower 4.0. Wasn't planning on that, but all right. So basically, we've got ourselves a handful of NFL news today. That's first and foremost that we've got to get today's stream started off with. Also, we've got ourselves Thursday Night Football tonight, so we're going to talk about that, answer your guys' questions. We've got a Q&A segment that we're going to go through for hopefully a large portion of this video. So drop down, give today's stream a like, and drop your questions down in the chat as well for today's stream. We'll let you guys filter on in here. Beach has already got us off going with the question, but again, just keep those things coming through because we're going to be answering all of those here after we talk about our big news from the afternoon.
Here comes the soliloquy.
Oh, man.
The Shakespearean moment right here.
As a Green Bay Packer fan, watching the last 48 hours of the Odell Beckham Jr. news and the rumors from Rams not even being in the discussion for who is going to trade for OBJ to the Packers being thrown in there the entire time to then not signing him. But then you've got the Pats, you've got the Saints, the Seahawks were never mentioned, yet people continuously decided to talk about the Seattle Seahawks in this because of Pete Carroll's smirk. And then, what was the last team? Saints, Packers, the Rams we didn't hear about until the very end. No, it wasn't the Niners. The Chiefs. The Chiefs were tossed in there as well. And you know how you see every week other fantasy content creators out there. We should really start making this video. The lesson learned episode from every week. As a Green Bay Packer fan, my lesson learned that I continuously have acknowledged that I need to learn is that when there's a key free agent out there and you're expecting them to sign with the team, just don't get your hopes up. It's not going to happen. It's just
JJ
not.
Watt.
JJ. Now, I don't really know if I wanted JJ for the actual team or just because he's a homer from Wisconsin. OBJ, I'm trying to think. Gilmore was, he expressed he wanted to come to the Packers.
Basically.
Every offseason, there's always a player, there's always hope. It's always the unexpected team. And the other lesson learned here is that Los Angeles just trumps every other sports franchise, market, whatever you want to call it. It's really frustrating. You know, you've got every cold weather team out there just suffers from players of elite caliber and status. Now, maybe OBJ isn't that at this point in his career, but they just pick LA or some warm climate every single time.
It's the retirement age, because AB has only gone to warm places after playing with the Steelers.
Well,
we knew it would be somewhere
warm.
warm.
The Pats weren't technically warm, but he's there for a week.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why he left.
So you've got yourself OBJ headed to the Rams. Now you've got a three-headed trio, monster, whatever you want to call it, at wide receiver with Kupp, Woods, and now OBJ. So we're going to break that down in the stream today, talk about that, get into all that good stuff in just a second. I'm just laughing here as we see some more comments come in. Again, drop any questions you've got for us down in the chat. We'll get into Q&As after we're done just ranting about OBJ here. We'll fill you in on that. Cam Newton, obviously, we have news about that today as well. So, long story short here, basically, I'm just a butthurt Packers fan, but that's okay because we stay objective here at SFS. Eric likes the Bears. They're on bye week, so we don't have to talk about them this week, thank God.
I wasn't planning on talking about
I'm just kidding. Love my man Justin Fields. I drafted him in the last rounds of a bunch of leagues, and I was starting to get very disappointed with that choice. And then I watched Monday night, and I said, I knew there was a reason I did that. There was some merit to that decision. So, A-Rob, maybe we've got some hope. Maybe not too much at this point.
More for Mooney. Yeah.
Mooney seems like he's the number one at this point, and maybe not in terms of the depth chart, but in terms of chemistry and connectivity. After the game, right. Justin talked about how Mooney's the guy that stays after practice with him and who takes individual reps, and even when Andy Dalton was the starter. So that's something there. But in terms of OBJ with the Rams, and I'll let you put in your 2 cents on this in a sec, but basically the vibe I get from this situation is that there is a clear section of this offense that it impacts, and I was trying to break down the aftermath of this trade and figure out exactly what that meant for this fantasy situation as a whole. And essentially, what I came away with is that there's two key players in the passing game that are impacted by this outside of Matthew Stafford, because obviously his efficiency should go up and should see benefit after this move, because obviously you've got 3 star wide receivers now. Some people wouldn't consider Robert Woods a star wide receiver, but we respect the man here. We'll give him his props and his credit. OBJ now, I think the players who see the most detriment in their fantasy outlook is A, Van Jefferson, and B, Robert Woods. And the Robert Woods part really stinks. That one hurts me deep down at an internal level. So I'm a big Robert Woods guy. He struggled early on this season, finally got things back on track. 6 straight games, we were just talking about it earlier on this week, with 10 or more fantasy points and half PPR scoring. And now you're talking about a guy who the outlook is a little bit foggy going forward with Robert here, because we're not exactly sure what his target share is going to look like and exactly what volume OBJ is going to get here. So the first thing that I've kind of seen tossed out there regarding Odell's new status with the Rams is that he's going to play the Deshaun Jackson role. And initially my thoughts to that are, he's playing more snaps than Deshaun Jackson. He might see, and I think that the majority of the people who are saying that, the tie and the connectivity to that Deshaun Jackson comparison comes from the fact that they expect that he's going to get the deep passes in this offense, and that he's going to be the field stretcher. 100% there with you, 100% agree, but he's playing more snaps than Deshaun Jackson did. He might be injury prone like Deshaun Jackson at this point in his career, but I still believe that Odell is a better player, and in terms of his overall utility to this offense, I think he'll be more of a difference maker and an impact player now. Deshaun Jackson was kind of splitting that role with Van Jefferson while they were both in-house, and that, I think, was some of the stuff that started to add up to Jackson wanting his release and ultimately requesting and receiving that ask of the Rams, because he's a veteran and felt like he should be playing more snaps, wanted to play a meaningful role for a team. So now the team has moved on from him. That's fine.
That was a big mistake by him, in my opinion.
You know, if he was ring chasing, the place to do it was with the Rams. Right. Now, maybe this move with Odell doesn't even happen in the first place if you have Deshaun and Van Jefferson on the roster. It is absolutely still possible, because, again, LA teams just seem to be more aggressive. Right. Players seem more willing and more apt to come there. And now you've got Von Miller, you've got Odell chasing a ring there. There's so much that goes into just overall LA's aggressiveness to the Stafford move in the offseason, to keeping all of these key players around. Right. Essentially what they've done is they've built a core of their defense around Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, and then the rest of the players are just plug and chug with draft picks and low-cost veteran signings, and they all play great. They find a way to make them fit seamlessly into the system, but Odell's going to play a lot of snaps. I think that when I looked at Van Jefferson's role even last week with Tennessee, I was shocked. He played 96% of the snaps for the Rams against the Titans. So you're already talking about Odell probably jumping immediately Van Jefferson on the depth chart. Kind of unfortunate for him, as he's a younger player and has some talent, and he was the field stretcher. But I think that OBJ comes in here. I think it's going to be a lot of slant routes and a lot of go routes, and that's ultimately for who was once one of the most electrifying players in the NFL at the peak of his prime in his heyday. I think OBJ might get back to those levels of efficiency. Now, he's not going to see 10, 15 targets a game, because I frankly don't think that this move really impacts Cooper Kupp all that much. I think that him and Matt Stafford, we're in week 10 now. That chemistry is already there. You're not going to really shake with that too much. And it might take OBJ a few weeks to even get integrated into this offense enough to be a forceful fantasy threat. But the reason that's concerning for Van Jefferson, to me, first and foremost, is because I think that his role imitates most what Beckham's will be with this team. And then when I look at Robert Woods, the concern I have there is that his targets haven't been consistently high. And for some players, they don't need that. We're talking A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, some of these highly explosive players. Heck, OBJ himself. They don't need a ton of volume, because they can hit one hit, 75-yard bombs. Now, they don't do that all the time, but the point being, they're explosive and can pick up chunk yardage nearly every time they catch the football. Robert Woods is more of a fundamental player, runs really crisp routes, has a really great amount of utility to his offense, but he's not necessarily somebody who's going to come in here and score 25, 30-yard receptions a clip. He's looking more around the 10, 12-yard range per catch. So I think if you reduce the amount of looks and opportunities he's getting, you're talking about another factor in the red zone. Robert Woods is only averaging, now this is a nice marker with just Cooper Kupp for competition, 8.3 targets per game over his last 6 weeks. But his high is 14. He's got another 10-target game in there, and his low is 5. And he's been targeted 6 or fewer times, 5 times this season, which overall is rather concerning when that is without Beckham on the field. So you've got some competition for targets added into this situation, so that's something I'm looking at moving forward here. So again, if you guys have questions, drop those in the comment section below. We're making our way towards the Q&A segment of today's episode. So once we get there, we'll rattle through all of those, and then we'll head on out as we've got Thursday Night Football in just a short while here, so we're not looking to make this stream too long. But Eric, what are your takes on the Odell situation?
I was thinking his volume receiving is going to be more like A.J. Green that we've been seeing with maybe even more with the Cardinals. Just that his role, I see A.J. Green getting a lot of deep routes now and those red zone targets, which again takes away from Robert Woods, who we've been seeing getting those more red zone targets than Kupp, I guess. When Kupp scores it, he's getting in. Like he's getting a run after catch to get in there. I think Woods had one of those, but with Woods seeing less targets, he was reliant on more of those touchdowns, and now with OBJ, he may just take even more of those opportunities away. I think OBJ is definitely worth having. If he's available. I had a league where I could pick him up because everyone was like, oh, well, he's done. He's been hurt. He's not really wanting to play for this team anymore. So let's see, pick him up without anyone looking and, let him sit on your bench until maybe he takes a little bit to break out, and then he could be a flex play or even a wide receiver too if you have a bye or something. So I think OBJ is fantasy relevant, clearly. Hopefully he can stay healthy. I think it'll be easier for him to stay healthy now that he's got 2 other legitimate wide receivers that are with him, because Landry was out and then OBJ was in. So now I think it's more of a stable situation for him to kind of show off his talent that we saw, maybe not to the same level as with the Giants, but that crisp route running that we all know. Right,
and I think one of the other big things too is that he now has a quarterback who can provide him the football off script.
Right.
Whereas I think Baker was a lot more, and some people aren't going to like this, but Baker Mayfield is a game manager at this point. He is not a game changer. Mm-hmm. Matt Stafford is no Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, any of those elite class quarterbacks at the top of his game, but what he certainly is a B+, A- quarterback that has a better arm talent than a lot of other quarterbacks in the league, and he has an offense surrounding him with an O-line as well that allows him to play at the top of his game because he's ultimately in the perfect situation, has the coaching to do all that. Respect the heck out of Matt Stafford as a player. He can get OBJ the ball deep downfield where he needs to. I believe that Matt Stafford, we've seen a few times, we've seen the Lions out of Matt Stafford in terms of some of the poor decision-making he's made. And we've also seen, I think, whereas in the offseason, we overrated Matt Stafford's arm talent because while I do think it is very excellent, we still saw him criminally underthrow Deshaun Jackson multiple times over a streak of multiple games. I still think he can get the football downfield. I still think he has a very large arm and should be able to produce the type of numbers from OBJ that we're hoping he can. But at the end of the day, I think that Odell is going to be an inconsistent, high upside wide receiver 2 here. I think you're looking at a combination of Van Jefferson, Deshaun Jackson, and then some. So you're looking at a player who maybe on a bad week in PPR scoring, you're looking 6 to 8 points. Maybe he's not going to totally go catchless like those 2 players may have. But then on those good games, you could get closer to 16, 17, 18. If you're lucky, maybe 19, 20. If he scores a touchdown or 2, finds his way significantly into this offense. But overall, I think it's a win for clearly the Rams. It's very frustrating to see, my initial thought immediately when this signing was this is the Buccaneers of 2020. They are the most aggressive team in the league. Right. They go out and do everything they've got to do to get the talent to acquire. And I think a lot of us deep down last season look at the Buccaneers and we thought to ourselves that they're going to win the Super Bowl. That is the best roster with arguably one of the best quarterbacks. And Tom Brady, after Thanksgiving last season, may have been the best quarterback. That team is going to be a tough out. I can't wait. I hope those teams square off in the playoffs, A, so the Packers don't have to go through both of them, and B, because I think it'll be a great game. But, man, it was disappointing news for me today to see OBJ land with another team. So if you've got questions, again, drop those down in the chat. We're getting a few dropped in there, but we'd love to see some more. Anything Thursday night, this weekend, NFL takes, whatever the case is, we will get you guys hooked up.
The Packers might have to play one of them if they don't win the division. The Lions are really in it this year. They're making a push for the division. So.
Maybe if the Lions were to somehow find a way to acquire Mike White, they could get the job done. On my Dynasty team, I had to make sure we've got like 24, 25 roster spaces, and I had to let my the Chiefs defense, I said, I'm getting Mike White.
It's like, how could you do that?
I also went out and added Cam Newton, who's our next player that we're going to talk about today. Cam Newton signs back with the Carolina Panthers. Who would have thought? Not me. Carolina.
That was a
Paul Rudd right there. Cam Newton, whatever the chances were, he ends up back with his team that drafted him first overall, the Carolina Panthers, back in 2011. Never would have expected that. Totally came out of left field. Like this morning, while we're all waiting for the Odell news, Cam Newton rejoining the Panthers drops first. I think that this actually has somewhat relevant fantasy implications because we saw last year Cam was a fantasy relevant quarterback up until he got COVID, and ultimately that kind of derailed his season because I think that he just got out of sync with the playbook, with the play calling. Maybe he had some lingering effects and wasn't feeling 100% himself. But there was a clearly different Cam Newton on the field up until Broncos week last year when he ended up getting COVID, contracting that, and then ultimately his touchdown passing numbers were terrible and his interceptions were not great either. I think he was 8 touchdowns to 11 picks on the year.
Proven symptoms of COVID that
if you contract the coronavirus, you will throw.
We'll have to watch out for Aaron Rodgers.
I'm a little nervous. I will admit, as a Packer fan, and this is probably the most I've ever talked about the Packers on the channel here, but again, totally objective. I do not weight the Packers differently in fantasy outlooks, but I'm actually very concerned. You see Dak Prescott, Tyrod Taylor came off injuries last week, or came off of missing time, which is the key factor here. They were really rusty. They made some really poor plays. And Dak, especially being a player of such high regard and a leader of potentially a playoff contender. I mean, the Cowboys have been right at the top the whole season. He looked really bad against a team that had just sold off their best defensive player for a second and a third round pick. So, I don't know. No practice for A-Rod this week. Been in quarantine. It could be clunky. It could be shaky. The offense played terrible last week, so it's not like they're coming off a groove or anything. So
it's Aaron Rodgers.
It's the Seahawks. Russ is also coming off of missing time, so it might be kind of a dogfight in a low-scoring game. We'll see what happens.
So Rodgers is going to be back in time?
He said on the McAfee show, the Pat McAfee show this week, that there is a small chance he does not play. And he said he was very adamant he wants to suit up. So he basically what Aaron said was, I watched the whole show because to me all this stuff is just very fascinating. Aaron says that as long as he's able to do heart testing, meaning that he has the cardiovascular...
if he has it in him to win that first level or second level technically. Playoff
essentially
the championship. See if he has the heart.
We're talking about you're talking about the NFC championship.
The NFC championship.
Screw you.
If he has the heart to do it.
So Aaron basically said as long as he can pass tests and provide evidence that he is capable at a safe level to play football this week and to run around the field. And then McAfee roasted the heck out of him because he said, what are you getting your heart rate up for? Calling the play in the huddle? So basically Aaron should be out there. That's the expectation. So it could be Aaron off of missed games versus Russ off of missed games. I would be much more concerned if I was Russ, to be honest, or a Seahawks fan, because I think that finger on a throwing hand, suffering a severe injury like that is much more concerning. Not only are you rusty and it's your first game back, but you just had, I believe you had finger surgery.
Right.
He had a pin in his finger, and then they had to take the pin out. He had to regain his motion of his whatever you call it.
He was bionic for a little bit.
He was, and he was still running through the pre-games and doing the Dak Prescott out on the field with those
hip
aggressive
flexors.
hips. Yeah. So, Cam Newton.
Do you think you'd say aggressive hips today?
I did not think I would say aggressive hips today.
Sometimes you got to have aggressive hips when you're manscaping, though.
Sometimes, yeah. Lawnmower 4.0, 20% off on manscaped.com.
Don't want to get too aggressive.
With code Sizzle and free shipping. What's better than free shipping today? I mean,
you can get more aggressive with the anti-Nick, but
that's true.
You don't want to get too aggressive.
So Cam Newton. We've been talking in circles here. Cam Newton, back to the Panthers. The big thing here, though, is that P.J. Walker is still expected to start this week. Now, Matt Rule did not rule out the potential of Cam Newton's presence or even suiting up for this game. But P.J. Walker's been in the system the whole offseason and last year. He started a game last year. And P.J. Walker is the player who was in relief of Sam Darnold, and ultimately he's been playing football is what matters here, and he is in sync with what the Panthers are doing right now. This is not the same regime as when Cam Newton was here the first time, so it's a slightly different playbook. You've got a different organization. Matt Rule, obviously not the coach that was there with Cam. Potentially looking forward to Week 11, a little bit of a reunion, a head-to-head between Ron Rivera, who was formerly Cam's coach, the head coach of the Panthers when they went to the Super Bowl. He was basically ushered out, I believe, around the same time as Cam was, maybe a season after. Because I think he was still the coach when who is that? The quarterback. Kyle Allen was the quarterback, and
he went to Washington too.
With him. Rivera traded for him from the Panthers. Great situation. Now Kyle Allen's like the third, fourth string.
He's working
at
Walmart, I think.
He's currently bagging your groceries. You might see him this weekend on your Saturday. I don't know what a national like grocer is. I was trying to think of something, but that's
Black
only
Friday. You'll see him bagging all your stuff.
So Cam is not playing this week, or at least that's not the expectation. So P.J. Walker this week, I've seen him. I personally think he's a nice talent. I don't know if he has a rocket arm, but he does throw a really nice fastball, at least within 30, 40 yards. I wouldn't say you could go out there and let one rip from 50, but I'm not worried about DJ Moore this week. I've gotten some questions throughout the week about Robbie Anderson since they were teammates together at, I believe it's Temple. If I'm going to start Robbie, probably holding off on that one. There's probably some better options out there. Robbie Anderson just has not been productive. I actually saw a really funny meme of Robbie Anderson screaming at Sam Darnold after an interception last week, so that was great. But I'm going to hold off on Robbie Anderson this week. I think that Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, those are your two starters in this Panthers offense this week. Again, I'm confident in what P.J. Walker can do, and Eric and I kind of talked about this behind the scenes. It really seems like I like P.J. Walker a lot more than the Panthers do. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have went out and signed Cam Newton. I tossed the idea out there that potentially P.J. Walker will perform well this week and then just keep the starting job. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? I don't think it's going to happen, though, because the Panthers just seem to think of him strictly as a backup.
Yeah. They traded for Sam. I think that they're going to stick with Sam, even though Sam Darnold isn't that good. I have a Sam Darnold jersey. And
it's a Jets one, too. It makes it even better.
It's a Jets Sam Darnold jersey where he didn't throw over like 200 yards ever. Or over 300 yards, I guess. I was being a little dramatic, but either way. Sam is kind of I don't know. He's an albatross. I don't think... He seemed like he was really good in those first few weeks, and now he's showing his true colors.
I don't really know... we could maybe, that's a project for another time. Go back, look at the Panthers schedule, break down how those defenses have been performing as of late. Maybe it has everything to do with on script when Matt Rule is holding Sam's hand and like telling him, all right, this is your first
Sam.
read. This is your second read. If
like
if you get to your third read, Sam, tuck the football and run.
Right.
Maybe if that's going on, Sam's okay, because he's clearly talented. He has a nice arm, but he's reckless,
fast.
And he makes terrible choices. I believe it was through week 3 or 4, he was like leading the league in rushing touchdowns, so that was entertaining to watch.
Who is it now, Lamar?
Rushing touchdowns? It's probably Derrick Henry. It's got to be Derrick Henry.
But
I
thought even though like quarterbacks.
No. He was leading the National Football League in rushing touchdowns for like the first month
Derek's
of the season.
It's
either Derrick or Jonathan Taylor at this point. I should probably know this, but
JT probably.
There's been so many injuries and whatnot that it's honestly hard to predict. We'll get to your guys' questions in just a second here, just a little more patience, and then we will get to that. Again, we are not going to be screaming for too long this evening, but we will get to the questions. We do have I guess we could also go over some comments from other videos that I haven't got back to yet this week. We'll get to those eventually, or maybe I'll just answer those during the game. So we're referring to the comment section of other videos.
James Conner is tied with Derrick Henry now.
That's freaking
and Jonathan Taylor has 8.
James Conner is everything that I hate about fantasy football. I mean, it's not so terrible now. So you look at last week, I guess he had 3 touchdowns, so that's fine. Now, 2 of those were rushing, 1 was receiving, I believe. I don't mind it so much now that Chase Edmonds is out, but like what bothers me to no end is when a really freaking talented running back, in particular, I'll bring up the Ramondre Stevenson example, drives his team the entire length of the field, all the way down the field, and then they bring in the other running back who is their goal line back, and then they just punch it in for 6. Like, Chase Edmonds deserves chances too. The only rushing touchdown he got was against my Packers on a wildcat snap where
it was pretty impressive.
Chase, you know what? I'm just thinking of this now. Chase Edmonds in the wildcat is like, not a chance in hell I'm giving you this ball. James pulls it, and he's like, this is my touchdown.
This is my
time.
Turn.
Yeah. Poor guy. So, Cam Newton, back to the Panthers. How did we get to Sam Darnold rushing touchdowns? Wow, we really just escalated that there. So
no, we elevated.
We elevated. PJ Walker's an athlete. I like him. He can run around the yard. He can throw passes. It's great. So, basically, my thing here is that I think Cam Newton, after this week, will insert himself as a starting quarterback, and with Super Cam's rushing abilities, he just might get into the quarterback rushing touchdown department and become fantasy relevant in that aspect of things. I think, though, that at this point, the value is going to come more from the rushing department than it is from anything else. Cam is not a terrible passer, and I think that he progressed in that facet from his time as a Patriot, obviously, with Bill Belichick in that system. So, essentially here, okay, hang on. I'm noticing a fatal error in the stream. So, this has been unlisted the whole time, which means only those with the link can view it. So, the Discord and anyone we sent it to are the only people that can watch the stream. I'm sitting here watching the playbacks, like wondering.
Guys,
boom!
We know that we're more popular than that. Like,
we are now public.
Okay, well,
so we've been streaming. Look, it's there. For the better part of 30 minutes, we've been doing a private stream to just those from the community Discord. So, congratulations! We are now here for
true fans.
Yeah, for those.
We
people,
love you, Beach.
Yeah, we love you, Beach.
And Siri Holowich, I love you.
MSK, yeah, fantastic. So.
You might just have to do your soliloquy again.
We'll see. Can people go back and watch that?
Yeah, you can watch that.
Well, the stream is public now, but
you should be able to.
But okay, we'll find out, I guess. So, man, where were we before that disaster took off?
We're gonna hit a record. We got 2, 3. Oh, it's a record for the stream.
Yeah. So for those of you guys just joining, what is up, JK? LOL. We've been streaming for what? it's 6:36, 30 minutes on the head. And I realized as I was in the middle of speaking that my stream was unlisted, which basically means that only people who have been shared the link to the stream with,
only the true fans,
can view it. So I sent it to the Discord, and that is the only people who were able to watch the stream. So big blunder on my part, JK. If you've got any questions for me, drop those down in the comment section. We'll get to those. We're just walking our way very slowly through the Carolina Panthers situation. So basically we spent, 20 minutes talking OBJ before we realized our fatal error. Not sure how that happened. Seems like everything tends to go wrong when we choose to stream because we set it up. We're about to get off on time at the 6 p.m. start. And boom, Wi-Fi's down. Gotta restart the router.
Actually, first it was the green screen.
And then the green screen was acting up. How's the green screen looking right now? It's looking all right. And then we had like a shadow man behind us because we were projecting a shadow onto the green screen. So then there was all this like black mystical fuzz going on behind us. It was fantastic, and then the stream's unlisted. So welcome to the new eyes of the actual SFS channel, not just the community Discord and friends of Gavin and Eric who received the link from us. It's been a great time. So we've already broke down OBJ. Hopefully, I'm really, really hopeful that people can go back and watch that. It should post
I'm sure
after
that
the
Siri
fact
will
here.
look back and get all of her info.
Get all the information
OBJ.
for OBJ. So Cam Newton basically is now back with the Carolina Panthers. We were just talking PJ Walker. He's expected to be the starter here for Week 10. Week 11, though, reunion, Matt Rule. You've got Ron Rivera potentially getting those two back together, facing off head-to-head. I think Cam, though, what we were talking, is more valuable at this point in a fantasy aspect from his rushing abilities, what he can do on the ground game. We were joking about how Sam Darnold led the NFL in touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, that is, for like the first 3-4 weeks of the season. And that obviously was not something that was sustainable. I'm chuckling at Colton's comments. He says, what are the odds that Eric makes the playoffs in the redraft league?
They're slim.
Colton, the question and answer segment is coming in just a second. You've got to be patient. For those of you just joining the stream, put your questions in the live chat. We'll get to those.
I'll do a deep dive on that one.
We'll say 5 minutes, and we'll close off with those.
No.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
We're going to be late. Uh-oh. Who's Botan? Someone's going after you. So, we've got ourselves Cam Newton. I think he has progressed forward as a passer throughout his time as a Patriot. I think that was actually a very valuable experience for him to have, because I think that Bill and who's the offensive? Josh McDaniels for the New England Patriots really coached the super Cam out of Cam Newton, and they really coached him into making the right read, going through his progressions, and just throwing to the open receiver. We saw that in the preseason. Now, it was preseason, and then inevitably after he got COVID he really got crushed by COVID.
He really got COVID.
He got COVID and then derailed the season last year, and then he gets it again this year in camp, right? Or it was a close contact, and then after that, they cut him. Mac Jones as the starter.
He has to work on his immune system.
Off to the races. Apparently, maybe he should try Aaron Rodgers' homeopathic.
Yeah, he needed something. He needed something else.
Anyways, so you've got Cam, who I think is a more mature quarterback at this point and a more mature passer. I think that he's not going to come out here and just let the ball rip all over the field, and we're not going to probably see DJ Moore turn into the wide receiver one the rest of this year. But I think that it can at least be a sustainable way, and hopefully with how garbage Sam Darnold has been playing, the comments are great right now. Here they go. Yes, Gabe, drop your comments, your questions down there. We'll get to those in a second here. We're working towards that. As Sam's de-evolution as a Carolina Panther has occurred, it has really slammed DJ Moore's value. So I'm hoping Cam, they've got chemistry somewhat because of the time they played together in Carolina before Cam's initial departure. That should be in effect here. But again, this week, PJ Walker is the starter against Arizona, or at least that's what Matt Rule says is the most likely outcome here. Now here we'll go into some of the questions.
Beach has been loyal the whole time.
Yeah, Beach has been a beast here.
Use the link.
What do I do with my man, Bobby Woods? Beach, I love Robert Woods, but as you probably heard us talk about, because you actually did have the unlisted link while we were live for 30 minutes.
Someone comment if you can go to the playback and see our... everything that happened before we put this listed. So, just let us know, because
that'd be a dang shame. But afterwards, hopefully, so this video will upload to YouTube after we go off air, and then hopefully then the entire episode will be available, because again, big goof up on our part. That was really, it was my fault, because I was the one man in the control box here. But all right, Beach says, what do you do with your man Robert Woods? Unfortunately, as we broke down, I think that Van Jefferson and Robert Woods are the two players that take the biggest blow from the Odell Beckham Jr. rumors. Besides me internally, obviously on the inside, I'm heartbroken and heart-shattered. I even posted on my personal Instagram account how distraught I was over the OBJ news. Every time, as a Packer fan, it comes back and it gets you. It bites you. Whenever you think you've got hope, whenever you think they're going to make that aggressive move,
it makes me very happy.
They don't do it. You know what? At least I didn't sign Robert Quinn to a $70 million 5-year contract.
That Robert has been decent. He's
after the age of 30. All right. So, Robert Woods, I think, is somebody right now. And the numbers for all these LA receivers, I think, are going to be incredibly efficient just out of nature of teams don't have the manpower to cover these wide receivers. Like, you don't have 3 grade A stud corners unless you're the Panthers, who have Gilmore, Henderson. They've got J.C. Horn on the IR.
Sycamore does, though.
Bishop Sycamore might be the only team that can guard the LA Rams wide receiver trio. But I still think that we were just talking about, well, not just, but half an hour ago or so, Robert Woods has been averaging 8.3 targets per game over his last 6 weeks, which he's had 10 or more points in half PPR scoring in each of those contests. His high is 14, though, and his low is 5. So you've got yourself a little Mike Williams-esque gap in terms of the difference you've got. I'm
Is that trademarked?
No, that's not a thing. But Mike Williams essentially has been someone I've absolutely hammered for having a sky-high ceiling, and then I'm out of the camera, and then his floor is just atrociously low. Robert Woods, all right, 5 isn't all that terrible, and he's been finding ways to produce because he's scoring touchdowns. He's a dang talented player, and he's in a really good offense, again, where you can be highly efficient. But I think if you can sell high right now, I would do so, because even if OBJ comes in and only sees 5 to 6 targets, that's still going to infringe upon Robert a little bit, because I think that OBJ's field stretching ability and his explosiveness is still on a different level from Van Jefferson and what he's been doing, and as opposed to a Deshaun Jackson, who we talked about a little bit earlier. When he was with the Rams, he was simply a vertical threat. He'd get a few targets a game. Maybe he scores a 75-yard house call, but that's pretty much a case in point right there.
Every year he gets 1.
Well, with the Rams, he should have like 7, but Matt Stafford underthrew him horrifically on multiple occasions.
Every year it's like, oh, Deshaun Jackson was the weekly fantasy player.
MVP. Yeah, you see it with Tampa Bay, Philly. It didn't matter who it was. He would just randomly pick a week, 3 catches, 171 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Thanks, Deshaun.
He pays off the QBs just so he can have that one moment.
So, yes, OBJ is going to be uber efficient in this offense. I think that you're looking at best, high upside wide receiver 2 numbers. I think he'll be a little inconsistent, a little boom bust, because I think that it's going to be tough to project a fantasy floor when there's this many targets. And we talked about, I think, Cooper Kupp relatively unfazed by this transition. Robert Woods is the guy. If you can sell high on him right now, that's what I would do with Bobby Trees. I think he'll be fine this week, though. They play Monday night, so I don't know if Odell will really be ready to go in this game. If Robert has another great game, you sell him, you take advantage of that. It's going to take time. They're not going to click just like that. Maybe he hits one big play, but wide receivers and quarterbacks don't just come onto a roster and click overnight, especially when you've got such an extreme chemistry situation with a Cooper Kupp already developed. MSK traded Jacobs and Judy for Swift, half PPR, good trade. I like that. I think that DeAndre Swift is a top-level fantasy PPR back right now. Now, that's not like the tier 1A amongst the top of the group, but he's still a very, very solid number 1 when he's healthy, and that really hasn't been an issue for him this year, which was...
He finds the value in the
pass
game.
Yes, very nice surprise to myself. DeAndre Swift has all of the talent intangibles that it takes to make a top-level fantasy running back. We just didn't think he'd get good game scripts this year, and he really hasn't outside of a couple of games. And the rushing numbers haven't been there, but the receiving game has been excellent. That work has been so great, and the touchdown productivity has as well. He's got high upside. He can make those explosive plays.
It's funny because Campbell was saying that they're just going to run the ball like crazy, and now their top running back...
Bite your kneecap off.
Right, and now their top running back is Thrive. There's a line where it's like 43 rushing yards for him, and people are going to be like, oh, he's a star running back. He should get more than 43 rushing yards.
Yeah, we were just talking about that off air before today.
But he won't probably get... that's his sweet spot. Like, that's what he's expected to get.
He is... I forget exactly what it was. We could pull it up here. But his top rushing output is like 50-something. It's not that spectacular. And Josh Jacobs was someone I absolutely hammered the entire part of this season until post-Gruden, because he was not getting passing volume and he wasn't adding in that extra phase of the game. Now he is. That's all great. Good. We're happy about that. So I think Josh Jacobs' arrow is pointing upwards, but with Jerry Jeudy being kind of your add-on helping piece that gets you to that Swift level, I like that because Judy's an awesome route runner and he's a great player, or at least he's not a great player yet, but he has the makings and the intangibles to eventually be one. Tim Patrick is a lot more fantasy relevant than people like to admit and want to realize. Like, there's literally, it's like a Tim Patrick stigma. They're like, he's no good. He can't do anything. The dude just makes plays. He scores touchdowns. Teddy B trusts him. Cortland Sutton's there too. You've got 3 capable and competent wide receivers in an offense that runs the ball heavily between 2 running backs and doesn't have a downfield passing quarterback. Teddy's a good game manager, but I'm not too concerned about letting that one leave. Beach, another comment from the man himself. At least you still get to watch OBJ play in the NFC Championship. That, in case you're just joining the stream here, I am a Green Bay Packer fan, deeply saddened, heartbroken, crushed, seeping into a deep, dark depression after he really dabbed on my Packers and just skedaddled on us to the Rams after we heard not a peep out of Rams camp for the last week.
Like I said with J.J. Watt, like Cardinals were never in the conversation, and all of a sudden, there they go.
All of a sudden. Did I not tell you within the last 2 days, I said the team that Odell signs with is going to come out of left field and we're never going to expect it. Yep. And it almost hurts more that way. It makes it worse. So, because I had kind of primed myself, I was like, all right, Pats, that's an exciting storyline. I can get behind that. OBJ returns to his wide receiver 1 days. He's going to be the Randy Moss-esque role for that Pats team in terms of rebooting his career. Nope, you're going to be the number 2B to Robert Woods in LA. So, great. Love to see that. Colton says, Jordan Love is the future. I hope so. But I don't know so. There were some encouraging plays. There were some not encouraging plays. A lot more of those type of plays than there were the encouraging sort. But
it was his first time.
I'm still here to spread love. I'm still here to spread it.
Spread love.
Spread the love. And I'm here to support my man Jordan in his journey to the eventual starting position for the Green Bay Packers.
It's tough playing behind the best quarterback in the league.
Thank you. I take that as a compliment. Thank you. I love Aaron Rodgers, and I think that
if I asked you that a few months ago, you would not have said that.
I was really upset by his personal choices towards the organization. Beach has got another question, and since he's been hanging around the stream for so long, we will get to your questions, by the way. Just keep them coming. We're going to get through these here. We're working our way from the top down to the bottom because we covered the OBJ and Cam Newton news for the first chunk of this live stream, so now we're making our way into the questions and getting through that. He says he's got more. Woods, Ridley, and Smith at wide receiver, and Najee, Gaskin, and CEH at running back. He doesn't know who to move to improve his team, and he wants a top-end team, he wants to turn his team into a top-end team. Gotcha. So, I see some assets here. Robert Woods, first off, Beach, we just talked about this. I think I'm going to sell high right now, and especially, I would be actively seeking a trade right now, and in particular, if Robert has a good game with OBJ on the roster, I am especially then clicking and selling him. He's been productively safe in the floor department the last 6 weeks, but now you add in another top-level talent. He's not a top-level producer or player, especially in fantasy at this point in his career, but you add in an OBJ caliber name to that situation, he's going to get some level of usage involvement, and it's going to be more drastic and extreme than Jefferson and Jackson. We've already talked about that. I look to sell high on him. I think Gaskin, another player I'm looking to move. He's not someone I like too much tonight either. If you have to start him, he does make our startable players list for Thursday Night Football. We'll get into that as the very end of today's episode before we get on out of here. CEH is back at practice. I might look to sell him as well, but I don't know what his trade value is going to be in your league considering he's missed so much time. And then Moore, Ridley, Smith, you're going to have to be patient with them. Ridley especially, he doesn't have any trade value. It's bottomed out. It's through the floor until he returns to football, which potentially could not happen this season. He might sit out and focus on himself this year. That's something that's just kind of luck of the draw here.
You may want to look into waivers on that team as well, especially if you make a trade and you sacrifice some depth at wide receiver. You can get a star running back to kind of solidify your team. Trading Woods and Gaskin.
Yeah.
You'll be getting CEH back. Not that we love him either, but he could have a big game. Yeah.
Watch the Chiefs reduce their rushing attempts once he comes back. It's a crime what they do to him. So, and then we've also got another comment from Beach saying, "Are you sure Aaron Rodgers is not lying again?" I think he's referring to Aaron's comments regarding he may play this weekend. I'll take the man for his word, but I also wouldn't put it past him not being prepared or ready for the game in terms of he just doesn't think he's ready to go, so that's okay. Siri says, what's the deal with OBJ? The deal with OBJ is that he broke my heart. That's the deal.
Yeah, it's hard.
He made me a very sad boy, and now I want to go cry in the corner because number 13 for the Green Bay Packers is Alan Lazard, not Odell Beckham Jr.
You may need to get a heart, check just like Rodgers.
You guys have no idea how excited I was. Like, I was ready to buy a jersey. I was ready to throw some cash at the Packers, help contribute to paying off that salary that they're going to pay him this year.
Are you one of those owners of the team?
Oh, I'm not yet, but I will be at birth. My father placed me on the waiting list for season tickets. For those of you who don't know, the Packers have like thousands upon thousands of people in line for season tickets because the Lambeau sold out every game. The estimation is, and this is no joke, I've like talked to my dad about this. I'm like, I want my season tickets. Like, I will pay for them. He said the expectation is that if your parent were to put you in line at birth, you won't be drawn likely until your 40s. That is insane. Like, I'll be a middle-aged man by the time I get my Packers tickets, and by then it'll probably cost like $5,000 to buy the season tickets.
Oh,
so.
Wow.
Yay. That's unfortunate for me.
There's not a lot of, I'm not going to hate on Wisconsin too much, but that's one of the most important things to the people here. So it's like you literally invest in your child and say, we're going to get you these season tickets one day. It's like a Roth IRA. Like, what is this?
Account.
Like, what?
So my dad had, his family did the same for him, and he got drawn the year before COVID, and we decided not to buy them.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, and we're like, kind of dodged a bullet on that one. Because they made season ticket holders had to pay for their tickets for all teams, but you couldn't go to the game unless you were a health. Like, at the very end of the season last year, they started letting some healthcare workers in as like a thank you. That would have been money down the trash. So, all right, back to questions here. Thank you guys for jumping in the stream today. If you've got those questions, if you're just jumping in here, drop those down. Yeah, you're just chomping away at the stream today. Drop those down in the live chat. Yes, Beach this is going back a while now. James Conner is, holy cow, the Carolina guy. Oh yeah, go Cam, go Panthers.
We missed you saying.
Yeah, I haven't seen you,
Carolina
the Carolina guy. It's been a while since I've seen you on an episode. You need to hop in on the episodes more. So, okay, where were we? I'm trying not to lose my spot because I don't want to skip anybody here. I want to get to all these. Colton Hogum says, should I, and by the way, James Conner is tied for the league lead in rushing touchdowns with Derrick Henry. He will surely pass Henry, as Henry will probably not play again during the regular season, or at least until the last couple of weeks. Should I trade Jonathan Taylor and Kamara for James Conner, Cam Newton, and Devontae Adams?
Why can I see this trade happening? Or someone actually
I feel like I've legitimately been asked this question before. Maybe not this season, but all right, no. You're going to want to keep your two-star running backs, and you're not. I mean, Cam Newton and James Conner might be the two best goal line running backs in the league. You know what I mean? But, all right, moving on. Do you think I should start Fant or Knox? Fant is versing.
Is Knox healthy?
All right. Fant is up against the easiest defense. He had COVID, and now I think he's back. Yes, he got activated off the COVID list.
Oh, okay.
The easiest defense versus the tight ends, but never gets targets. Let's check some matchups here for you. The SFS matchup database for Week 10 has got you covered. The Google.com NFL schedule. All right. Panthers. Wow. Broncos are taking on the Eagles this week. The one hesitancy I have with Dawson Knox is we like to have a rule here on SFS that I have established. If a player misses multiple games, I tend to not start them in their first time back. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. You get a Christian McCaffrey, a star player off the IR.
He found value somehow.
You need to start him. But
it
you're
looked
talking
like he was going to suck.
Pass catchers, wide receivers in particular, lower-end running backs. I tend to be more cautious. Now, Dawson Knox was a higher end, top of the threshold fantasy tight end one this year before the injury, but it was a hand injury. So that's catching passes. You got to get back into a mental space of playing football. And Fant missed last week as well, which I think makes this a little closer because now you're talking about two players who both have not been playing. It's really a toss-up. I think that the upside is certainly with Knox. You give me the better quarterback, the better offense. Defenses can't pay as much attention. You also talk about Jerry Jeudy being back in that Denver Broncos offense. There's more target distribution across the board. Tim Patrick is still very involved, despite, again, we were just talking about how Tim Patrick is maybe the most hated fantasy-relevant player because just no one likes to start him. I think you go with Knox here. Maybe if we were talking about a different situation, I would pick another tight end, but I think that the risk is equally high with both of them coming off of missing last week. What are the chances? All right, we're skipping that question. What are the odds the Packers lose the NFC Championship again? Well, Beach, first, the Packers have to get to the NFC Championship game, which if we draw the Rams or the Bucs in the first round, you can kiss that dream goodbye. I think the only reasonable matchup right now, just because Aaron Rodgers owns AT&T Stadium, I believe that's what it is for the Cowboys, right? Yes. He owns Dallas, Texas. We'll say that. He won the Super Bowl there. He seems to be basically
and the Bears.
Immortal there. So
he owns the Bears as well.
You know, if the Packers draw again the Rams, or we'll see the Rams in 2 weeks, the regular season, that's going to be some must-see TV. If Odell scores a touchdown against the Packers, I might just...
Be careful what you say.
I might just take my lawnmower 4.0 and shave right down the middle of my head. Manscaped.com, code SIZZLE, 20% off, free shipping. Lawnmower 4.0. It's a revolutionary product. It's got this amazing light. So
maybe don't use it on your head, but use it
You're not supposed to use it on your head.
Around a different area with a head.
But I would be very upset and disappointed if that were the case. Do you think I should start? Oh, we just read that one. Okay. Looking for real questions here in the live chat. For those of you watching, you can drop anything you've got for us, and we will answer you. Fantasy, NFL takes, prop bets on Thrive Fantasy. Code SIZZLE when you deposit. Sign up as a new member. Deposit between $10 and $100. You'll get an instant deposit match bonus from Thrive. Tonight we've got some props going. I took Jalen Waddle over 61.5 yards. Hollywood Brown over 56.5 yards. The lines have changed since I made my picks, but you could still go out there, sign up with code SIZZLE, again, get that deposit match, and make those takes of your own. And I've got Lamar Jackson over 299 rushing and passing yards combined, so that's where you get that extra little juice there. Again, Thrive Fantasy, code SIZZLE, deposit match, and you'll get a free month of SFS Gold on us for supporting them out. Weekly positional rankings, lineup setting on the community Discord server. You can DM us pictures of your lineups, and we'll just tell you who to start. And any other questions you've got for us, day or night, we get back to all of you guys there. So thank you so much, everyone watching the stream right now. Trade advice for Gabe, finally here. We're getting around to you, man. It's been a while. CMC Jefferson for Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, Calvin Ridley, Devontae Smith. Ooh, this is a mega deal right here. CMC and Jefferson for Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, Ridley, and Smith. You want CMC and Jefferson, no question. Ridley is too much of an X factor, a wild card at this point. You don't really know if he's coming back yet. That's the point to me where you draw the line. I mean, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are also... I'm trying to think of the fancy word when it's like they have a relationship that like negatively...
Symbiotic?
It's not symbiotic. They negatively impact each other because A.J. Dillon's getting 15 carries and Aaron Jones is getting 15 carries, and they can never get enough to be elite. You know what I'm saying? So I can't think of what it's like. Parasitic. They have a parasitic relationship with one another. You know, I was just gonna say benefits of being a college student, but I didn't even learn that in college. So
that was biology.
Not useful.
That was Mr. Horman.
Give me your top over/under picks for Sunday for prop bets. Wow, Jeremy, you got to go head over to the community Discord. The link to the server is in the description of today's stream. You can join that up for free. I post all the props I make on there. So if you want to make the same bets as me, try and win some cash with me. We're going big or we're going home this week. I put $50 on the line for tonight's game. Forget Sunday.
Whoa.
We're going crazy tonight. Again, Hollywood Brown over 56.5 receiving yards. I picked it early on in the week, and since then, his line has went up 6 yards, so I'm feeling good about that one. Waddle's line has not changed, 61.5. I picked the over on that. You're not getting Devontae Parker this week. He's out. Will Fuller's out as well. It's going to be the Gesicki and Waddle show here. I like the over for those two players. I did not bet on Gesicki, though. And on Lamar Jackson, I took, again, over 299 rushing plus passing yards. And that line has went up 11 yards since I made that bet. So feeling good about that one as well. Yeah, JK LOL just kind of, roasting me. That's how it goes. That's all right. We love to take Packers heat here. He says, don't put all your trust in Green Bay. I've learned throughout my life. Or actually, no. We talked about at the top of the episode. Lessons learned as a Packer fan. Never get your hopes up. And I frequently get crushed over and over again. Ridley is unknown if he'll come back. And Smith is hit or miss. Yeah, right. We just talked about that. We don't know if Ridley's coming back. That's up to him, up to the Falcons. not really. It really is not up to the Falcons whatsoever, but they could potentially say, "Nah, just take the rest of the year off for yourself." Who knows? I would not trade for Calvin Ridley. He has no trade value if you're going to move off of him, essentially, because what team is going to gamble more than a bench
he's
bench
an
level
IR
player?
spot
Right, he's an IR stash. If you have 2, 3, 4, I've seen like ridiculously large IR space counts in leagues. I would love to. I'm the king of hoarding high upside players from the waiver wire. I've been hanging on to Fields, Elijah Moore all season. Michael Thomas I had stashed all year. Bateman I had on my IR. I love just cramming those guys down there. And then late in the season, they pop off and fantasy champs, baby.
Look at you.
So how do we feel about Kamara? This is a great question from our boy Isaac here on the SFS channel. So I'll let you talk about that one after I give my feelings about Alvin Kamara. So essentially, I think Alvin Kamara is still a top 5 fantasy running back right now. He's catching passes. That's nice. He's getting rushing involvement, a higher level of rushing attempts than he has in any season prior because of how more extra dependent they are on him. The one concern here, obviously, is quarterback play. And I think as long as Trevor Siemian is the quarterback, I would start to hit the panic button. Now, I was starting to hit the panic button with Jameis Winston when the first month of the season, it seemed like he was really struggling to hit those target numbers that he was in seasons prior, because that's where he gets that efficiency from. That's where he gets those PPR points from. That's where he's really setting the edge and giving you a difference in your fantasy leagues. And that's why we liked Alvin Kamara so much. The difference now, or later on in the season, was Jameis started giving him an unholy amount of targets, and then we're over here celebrating because Alvin's being efficient, scoring touchdowns, and catching passes again. Taysom Hill is what worries me, because we saw him struggle last season and see a significant dip with Drew Brees out of the lineup. But again, you don't really know, because it took Jameis a healthy chunk of time to figure that out and have that internally click for him. And once that was the case, Kamara was fine and back to being a top 5 running back. So I trust Siemian. He knows who he is as a quarterback at this point. In no world am I starting Trevor Siemian in my fantasy lineup. But I do trust him to put Kamara in the situations to score. He's going to get his red zone rushes, his touchdowns. I think he's closer to 5 than he is to 3, 2, or 1. Maybe you could even make a case that he's down top 6. But I still think he's a player you really want on your team. And unless you're flipping him for an Eckler, a Jonathan Taylor, maybe a Dalvin Cook, but we might pause on that because of some question marks concerning his situation long term and any news and information that could come out regarding him. There's a very small handful of running backs that I would rather have than Kamara the rest of the season.
Right. I think it may not seem like it, but having Ingram come into the Saints organization is actually helpful. He's playing well, so he's getting meaningful snaps, which means he'll play more and keep Kamara healthy. We've seen it with Tony Pollard with the Cowboys, in that people freak out that Tony Pollard is getting a bunch of carries. But that just means that Zeke is going to have more longevity in a season where we see injuries happen to guys like Christian McCaffrey, where Chuba Hubbard wasn't getting a single snap while McCaffrey was healthy in the beginning of the season. And then all of a sudden, he's out, he's hurt. And hopefully now that he's back, how did that work this week? I didn't get a chance to see the Panthers as much as I'd like, but did Chuba come in?
Chuba was playing. Now, it wasn't CMC's full workload, but it also wasn't something... It didn't feel like Chuba was really infringing upon McCaffrey, because even in the first parts of the season... Now, McCaffrey was not quite up to McCaffrey touches, but Chuba also had a role prior to CMC going down. Chuba was still coming in for change of pace plays and to give McCaffrey a breather, and he made plays in the touches he was given this past weekend. Yes, maybe that count was a little higher than it was back in weeks 1 through 3 when CMC was fully healthy and Chuba never started an NFL game yet. But it's not something that's concerning to me long term. I'd still probably rather have CMC than Kamara.
But we hope to see Chuba still stay in the lineup and give a break to Christian McCaffrey, despite him having that upside for a huge play.
And we got to get through some rapid-fire questions here because we want to get you guys on your way to watching Thursday Night Football, and we want to watch the game as well. And we've been streaming for publicly to you guys for like not very long, but offline we were streaming to the Discord community which is free to join, by the way. The link is in the description of today's episode. So if for some reason this oopsies happens again where we don't make the stream public, you'll have access to it because I post the stream link in the community Discord.
There you go.
But essentially there's like a fine line with running backs where it's like, yes, we want more volume, we want more, and then it's like, stop.
Right.
He's going to get injured. You're going to burn all the tread off the tires,
Yep.
and it's going to be no bueno long term, and that's what happened with CMC.
I think it'll be a similar case with David Montgomery now that Khalil Herbert has developed, and even Damian Williams, that they'll realize David runs so dang hard, and when he's in, he makes plays, but it's not worth him doing all of that and then being injured, because then you don't have him for the long
There's like a fine line. You're still a fantasy workhorse, but you don't have to... Like, not everyone is Derrick Henry, and we saw it catch up with him. Like, you just can't put your body through that much punishment, so it's important that the coaches at least sprinkle in other running backs to give you 2-3 plays off.
Something to look at.
Or even a drive.
Fantasy-wise.
And then you also see the other side of the spectrum where it's like, now Aaron Jones giving up every other series to A.J. Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
That's too much to give away.
Too much, yeah.
But you see the fine line, and that's something to talk about for next fantasy season. It's something we've kind of learned throughout this year, but an interesting observation to make as we move forward here. Rapid fire. Do I trade Dak Prescott, Jerry Jeudy, and Devontae Booker for Cordero Patterson and Kenyon Drake? I have Stafford also. If you've got Matt Stafford, make that trade.
Yep.
See Pat, he's legit.
Drake's been nice.
He's the RB 8 right now. I'm not saying he's going to be the RB8 the rest of the season, but the way he scores points is a legitimate way to be involved in a fantasy offense. When you're catching passes and running the football, both while doing them cohesively week to week, that's sustainable production. Again, he was the RB2 at some point this season, and we're seeing the weekly ceiling regress a little bit, but the floor is there, the dependability is there. I make that trade. And Kenyon Drake has also been scoring touchdowns and being more involved post-Gruden. Are we dropping Van Jefferson now? If you're in a league size under 12, I think you can drop Van Jefferson. Yeah. In a 12-team league, which is basically all the leagues we play in, I think he is the last guy on your bench.
Right.
For now. If he's not getting any snaps, he saw 96% last week. If he's not getting any snaps after this week, I think that OBJ will have a slow transition into this offense because you can't learn a playbook and get chemistry with the quarterback overnight. But we'll reevaluate, reassess that in a couple weeks here. Again, though, 10, 8, 6-man leagues, get rid of him. Do I trade Antonio Brown instead of Dak? Wesley, I think that... See, here's the thing with AB. We don't really know a lot about his injury. We know how productive he can be and how valuable he is to lineups in Tampa in particular when he's healthy. He shed the walking boot, but still isn't really doing much at practice. If you think you can be patient with Antonio Brown and that he will contribute in a lineup space the rest of the season, I would trade Dak instead because you have Matt Stafford. If that's not your situation, though, I think you go ahead, trade AB, and then maybe you like having that depth at quarterback. Another important thing here is it a 1 quarterback or 2 QB league? If you're in a 2 QB start league, you have to keep Dak. That's no question there.
Right.
What are the odds that the Packers get back to the NFC Championship get to the NFC Championship without Rodgers after this year?
Love is starting.
First year as a starter, no. If Aaron Rodgers leaves the Packers, they will not, and mark my words here, they will not be a playoff team next year. Aaron Rodgers' first season as a starter, his 3rd year in the league, they didn't make the playoffs. They made the playoffs the next season, and there was fireworks, there was flashes, you saw glimpses of a quality roster and a team that could make a playoff push. But a first year under a new quarterback, you can never have those expectations. Even though he was sitting behind a legendary quarterback, even though he's sitting behind Brett Favre, learning, has the arm talent we know know to be Aaron Rodgers, you can't expect that year one. There's a transition process for any quarterback. Only vets can come in and really, like a Phillip Rivers-esque situation. He comes in, he's a 15, 17-year vet in the league.
Right.
Comes in, 1 year, playoffs. They were a quality team. You know the rest of the story. I think... Odell wanted to be on the winning side of the NFC Championship. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. This has been a lovely stream. I love it. Keep bringing the Packers heat. It's
I don't know if you want to read this one out loud.
Yeah, Cody. Let's keep it PG here. Jeez, man. My team consists of Josh Allen, C-Pat, Damian Harris, Chris Carson, Hill, Deontay D-Hop. Wow, this is a loaded team, bro. Are you playing an 8-man league? What's going on here? Few scrubs I didn't name. What should I trade? JK, my man. keep those players. I mean, D-Hop is someone who I've been talking about as a sell high for a while now. The hamstring injuries really bother me, but with that being said, he didn't play last week. And one of the things I suggested was that I think the Cardinals, this was like 2 or 3 weeks back, they need to just shut him down for a week and let him get healthy. Kyler Murray gets injured. They're like, all right, to heck with it. You're not playing anymore. Sit down, fix that hamstring. He's been kind of bothered by it for a couple seasons now, but hopefully 1 week was enough time for him to solve that issue. We'll see going forward, though. I still think I would look to sell him high if you can get, because I think he's closer to wide receiver 10 than he is to like wide receiver 5 at this point. Excuse me. I would look to move if you can for one of those better options, but be careful. The grass is not always greener on the other side, so do not undersell yourself. That's the one piece of advice I have for you there. I traded Adams for Cooks. I hope that he means Cook with no S and Montgomery. Oh, Cooks and Montgomery. All right.
Also, Brandon.
Better
Cooks
deal here.
I
think Cooks is still a high end too, and Montgomery's a slept on RB1. Huge upside. Yeah, Steven, I like that trade.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
I think that David Montgomery down the stretch here, very valuable. Brandon Cooks, he is no Devontae Adams, but he plays in a terrible franchise situation.
If you have a nice number 1 wide receiver, or you have a nice running back.
The recipe for sleeper wide receivers. Ready? Cook me up some Brandon Cooks with a bad defense, or excuse me, a bad defense.
Bad
gives up a lot of
defense
points.
on the field a lot.
A bad football team.
Right.
And just being the clear number 1 in your offense. You don't have to be a down and wide receiver
having
to get
good route
the
running
football.
and getting open for any quarterback to be able to get you the ball.
Brandon Cooks is a proven player. I couldn't believe he was being drafted in like the eighth round of this year's draft. Now, technically, if you want to be, one of those guys, Jamar Chase was going right around that territory as well for a part of the offseason. His ADP then eventually rose, but he was one of the better picks of that spot in the draft because, again, you're playing for a bad team. They're trailing, coming from behind late, throwing a lot of passes, and there is nobody else in the offense that is even close to as respectable of a player as he is. So he gets, obviously, the bulk of those carries or those opportunities. Andy is really worried about DJ Moore. Might sit him for Jalen Waddle this week. Other wide receivers, Keenan Allen. Is this a stupid move? I think that Jalen Waddle is an awesome player. I love to start him. But with that being said, I think I'd still start DJ Moore. Now, it's not ballsy to go with Jalen Waddle either because I think that the gap is really close. So it's really personal preference. I think that Waddle might have your higher floor, and Moore might have the higher ceiling because I think that PJ Walker's an underrated quarterback. And I think that Sam Darnold was ultimately a lot of the toxicity for DJ's situation. Very close. If you want to start Jalen Waddle this evening here in about 10 minutes, go for that. What do you think about Bateman tonight? See T.Y. Hilton on my waivers so I could pick him up with Watkins back. Start Bateman. Bateman is a beast.
What do you think about Watkins coming back? You think that's going to make much of an impact?
See, I personally think that Rashad Bateman has done enough in his time with the Ravens. You've got the draft capital.
It sounds like they
the
love
first
him
round
too,
pick.
from everything we've heard.
Lamar threw to him in big spots last week. Missed a huge touchdown that could have been an astronomically higher amount of fantasy output. Even with, who's the Ravens' the third? Duvernay, is he technically their third starting receiver? Because right now, the big three that we think of when we talk Ravens fantasy-wise is Andrews, Hollywood, and Bateman in the passing game. Watkins is still a viable, I'm not going to say a starter because you're never really hoping to start Sammy Watkins in a fantasy lineup. He's still a viable NFL player that can make a starting lineup for a team, not a fantasy team, an NFL team.
Unless it's the first week and he gets 3 receiving touchdowns.
First week, Sammy Watkins is like no other fantasy player out there. So I think that you're going to see here Rashad Bateman's talent come through. He is the long-term play too, so ultimately they want to have him on the field. I think that Sammy Watkins is the wide receiver 3 at this point in this offense. And to begin with, Bateman's not a high-volume play at this point in his career either because the Ravens
could benefit him.
Right, and that's true. It might do that as well. A.J. Dillon or Naheem Hines, I'm going to say that one's going to come down to what the Green Bay Packers have. Seattle, which is one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. Yeah, I think if you're in full PPR, you might swing Hines a little bit. Both of these are these are probably the 2 most valuable handcuffs. Non-starting, and they're not even handcuffs because they have standalone value like they are.
You could flex them along with having the other player.
Right. Yeah. I think I might go Hines in full PPR. Dillon hasn't really been scoring touchdowns lately, but the Carolina guy says, go Cam, go Panthers. Attaboy. Should I trade Debo for Jamar Chase? I'm worried about Ayuk and Kittle, but Debo has a way easier rest of the season schedule. I think I would pull the trigger on this deal. I think Cole here, the balance is what I think is being restored to the 49ers passing game. It was all Debo, no worries, Samuel all day long. And then finally, Kittle comes in here off the IR, 106 yards, touchdown. Ayuk's getting involved. He looks healthy. This team is back to full strength. And I think it plays to the 49ers organization's benefit to spread the ball around the field, because then, really the team, not the entire organization, maybe they pick up more wins doing this. But when you spread the ball around, you can't let opposing defensive coordinators take away your top option and shut down your offense. So that's just me. I think that they spread the ball out more, and I think that Burrow and Chase is the way to go there. I'm 3-6. Should I trade Aaron Jones and Debo for JT and Amari Cooper? Well, you might be getting yourself the rest of season RB1 in this deal. I think that the upgrade from Jones to Taylor is very significant. And I think that the downgrade from Debo to Cooper is also fairly significant, but I think that the running back position is ultimately more valuable to have the elite contributor at here. If you can get yourself JT and he stays healthy,
run player right there.
Right. Jonathan Taylor also has a very nice rest of season schedule, so I think I would make this move. I'm considering packaging D-Hop and Harris for a stronger running back if someone in your league needs a wide receiver that may have an extra good running back. D-Hop isn't getting the targets we are accustomed to. Yep, been talking about this in the trade talk videos. I think that selling D-Hop for, again, one of those guys in the 5 to 7 range for rest of season receivers. I'd flip him for Jamar Chase coming off a down week. I'd still probably sell him. We just talked about Debo Samuel being traded away here, but I might have more faith in Debo Samuel's playmaking ability at this point, just because with the amount of targets Kyler's spreading the ball around to, and Hopkins' hamstring injury, which has hopefully gotten a little better this week, but still, Hopkins someone I'm looking to move. Should I trade away CMC and Keenan for Devontae and Saquon? Nope, I'd stay put with Keenan's floor.
Let's get cooking here.
And CMC, yeah, we got a lot of stuff to sift through here, and we want to get you guys in your way. Gesicki versus Ravens tonight, Schultz versus Falcons, or Knox coming back. Pick one, standard scoring. Go Gesicki tonight. Dolphins are down. Fuller and Parker went to IR last week. You've got yourself Waddle and Gesicki. That's about it. And you talk about the one-handed catch machine, Mike Gesicki, red zone targets, baby. No Tua tonight. That's important. He's going to be the backup, actually. He's going to suit up but be the backup.
Rashad Bateman tonight versus Dolphins. Brandon Ayuk versus Rams. Hunter Renfrow versus Chiefs. Standard league, so you're hoping for a touchdown out of Ayuk more than probably any of these players. Yeah. Renfrow usually finds true fantasy value out of touchdowns, but it's not really his thing. Bateman is going to be probably yards, too. I think Ayuk is probably your best option there.
That's what I was thinking, too. Freeman, Kirk, Bateman, Devontae Smith, A.J. Dillon, or Drake at the flex in full PPR. Freeman tonight has probably got, this is full PPR though, so you're really just hoping touchdown or bust there. Devontae Smith, full PPR. I think I would, who did the Eagles play this week? Denver. I think I would swing either in the direction of Devontae Smith or, man, full PPR. That's tricky because you've got different players that are doing different things here. With Drake and Dillon being potential pass catching upside plays, which is not something you would traditionally be accustomed to saying. If you're looking for upside, I would go the Devontae Smith route and hope that those two can build the chemistry. But if you want a safer floor option, I think that the Kenyon Drake could potentially be a way to go with his pass catching post Gruden here. Should I trade Michael Pittman Jr., Thielen, and Mark Ingram for Deontay Johnson? I have that's a lot to give up for Deontay. I love Deontay Johnson, but I'd hold off there. I'm sure your heart has been broken many times before being a Packer fan. Yep, my first season ever ended terribly. We're not going to get into that. That's a story for another time. NFC Championship after NFC Championship, I tell you. Pat Freiermuth or Fant at the flex in full PPR. I might just swing my way over to some Pat Freiermuth magic here.
He's been getting a lot of red zone targets.
And Big Ben really likes him. Deontay or Swift at the flex. I'm going to go with Lions. Who's Detroit got this week? Pittsburgh. Okay, so they're playing each other. I think Swift has the higher upside. Yeah, I think Deontay has a better floor, but you want that upside. Do I think Odell will be a top 25 receiver with the Rams? No. I think that he will be a fringe top 30 receiver because top 24 would be a wide receiver too. He'll be a flex play, high upside. We talked about him having some high upside wide receiver 2 weeks, not the rest of the season.
He'll kind of be like AB kind of value. You want to have him as a flex play who you may get a bunch of points out of him.
Y'all think I should trade my Thielen, Gronk, and Claypool for Tyreek, Kadarius, and Cortland? Yeah, Tyreek, you're getting the best player on the deal here. Yeah, Problem solved there. Waddle or Lockett? You want ceiling or floor? I think that if you want the floor value with Waddle this week, I'd say put him in the lineup. I think Russ coming off that injury might be a little shaky week 1. Gesicki or Knox? I'm going to go Gesicki. Sorry, not Gesicki. Is James Robinson playing this week? We don't know that for a fact yet, but it is hopeful. Urban Meyer would like to play him, so I think you roll the dice and stick with J-Rob in your lineup.
It sounds like he's ready to go.
Do you think Odell... Oh, we just answered that. No, I don't think he'll be top 25. I think he'll be top 30 again. That was fringe top 30, but I have to reevaluate. I'm actually doing rest of season receivers next week, so we'll get into that later. Running backs will be coming out tomorrow. Rest of season running backs top 24, RB1s and RB2s for 12-team leagues. All right. I keep losing my place because people keep commenting as we're trying to get you guys onto the game. Also, D-Hop or Bateman. You want D-Hop this week. Unless is D-Hop playing? It's so...
I'm not sure.
I mean, I heard that Kyler's feeling a lot better. That's the box score. You're not going to find that. Basically, just evaluate DeAndre Hopkins' health throughout the week. Well, basically, you're screwed if you don't start. You got to pick one right now. I'd bet on Diop playing this week. And if not, I think you can find a better option on the waiver wire. Bateman's awesome, but I think that D-Hop's going to net you better value if he's out there.
He's absent at practice.
That's a little concerning. You're in a sticky situation. I will say that. Was offered Henderson and Debo for Kupp. Not sure what to feel about it. Henderson and Debo for Kupp. Not sure what to feel about it. Well, I think Henderson's going to be a lower-end RB1 the rest of the season. With all the injuries we have, that's what really factors into that assessment. I don't think he's a great talent at the running back position, but he's in a great offense. He gets a lot of red zone opportunities. He gets a lot of goal line carries. You're talking about an offense that moves the football down the field. And then Debo Samuel, a middle-of-the-pack wide receiver 1 at this point with the regained and rejuvenated health of the 49ers. I think I might take that if you need some depth with OBJ coming in here and maybe taking 5-6 targets a week. Not from Kupp, from the offense as a whole. Josh Jacobs or Gaskin in PBR format. I'd go Josh Jacobs this week.
Yeah.
Trade Hopkins for A.J. Brown. Yes, sir. Baseball kid 2016. I think that actually might be my cousin. I'm not sure. But yeah, Lucas, if that's you, it might not be. Baseball kid might be watching the episode right now thinking, I'm not your cousin, but...
You're 16.
We're all cousins. We're all cousins somehow.
Okay.
Don't do that. Debo is slowly not getting 1 trillion targets, and now Kupp is versing OBJ too. That wasn't a question. I just read someone else's reply to someone else's question.
Mr. Horman.
What?
Okay, so it's not your...
Oh my God, it's Stu. I think it's Stu. I'm not really sure. Mr. Horman. Is Mr. Horman in here? I don't.
I talked about Mr. Horman, the biology teacher, because you brought up.
Oh, all right.
Because you brought up parasitic relationships.
Nice. All right. All right. I gotta find my place again because every time I do this, Stu just DM me. All right. I got you, man. I'm with you. I got you here. D-Hop has suffered injury after injury and is very touchdown reliant. I could not agree with you more, JK. LOL. What's up, y'all? Lockett, Ayuk, Judy, or even OBJ in the lineup this week. I think I'm going to swing Ayuk's direction here. It's close between him and Lockett. Lockett, though, with the quarterbacks, that's the one concern for me. Is Russell Wilson's hand truly able to sling that deep ball? That's what he produces off of. JKLOL tagged us and said Bateman or D-Hop. I think you gotta just trust D-Hop will play this week.
It's too late now.
It's too late. Yeah, it's
the
simply we're
done.
trying to get to directly behind our green screen to the couch here, finish up these questions and watch some football while we pump out the rest of our weekly rankings and prep tomorrow's video. We got to record an episode after this lovely stream here, so it's gonna be a fantastic evening at the old SFS studios here. Cam might be the MVP this season. You know what, Tommy? There's never give up on your dreams. Sucks that Chubb caught the germ. God damn it. Well, Hunt is on the bench. Dude should have... Oh, God. All right, I can't read the rest of that comment. I should have read that before I said it out loud. Thoughts on the Bears quarterback? I forgot his name.
Right.
Okay, Tommy. Tommy's out here clowning us. And Justin Fields, for that matter. I just traded DK and Nick Chubb, and I received Jonathan Taylor and Jerry Jeudy. Did I win this trade? You got the best player in the deal. I think you gave up a lot of value. I will say that. Nick Chubb is someone I'm looking to sell, and in particular, I love getting JT in return, but DK Metcalf he's a bona fide wide receiver one. So you definitely severely downgraded yourself in the wide receiver department, and someone in our apartment complex is stomping on the floor. All right.
Wide receiver apartment.
Yeah. It's Odell up there screaming and shouting about being a Ram. Or it's Aaron Rodgers yelling at Brian Gutekunst.
Aaron is not happy.
Elijah Mitchell and Scary Terry for Devontae Adams. Yeah, if you can pull that off, it's a heck of a deal right there. Justin Fields as a second quarterback in 2 QB league. Good call. Yeah, I think that's a solid deal. If he keeps running the way he's running, and if he can develop rapport with Allen freaking Robinson, him and Cole Kmet were awesome last week. That was unexpected.
Darnell Mooney. Next step.
Darnell Mooney's been the most productive receiver in that offense. They've got a chance. They could do something special there. And rookies, the trend is always rough first half, and they finish strong. And I think Justin Fields will follow that to a T here. Kittle or Andrews? Ooh, you got both of them? Start them both.
Trade one of them, maybe?
You want them both. Yeah, you should definitely trade. Hello, can I ask a question? Yeah, of course you can ask a question, Matthew, but not before we turn off the stream. He already asked his question. All right, you're a good man.
Matthew, you're supposed to wait until we said
Where would you rank Aaron Jones rest of season? No, Matt's good to ask his question if you wanted to. Where would you rank Aaron Jones rest of season? Stay tuned, Christian. Rest of the season running back rankings coming out tomorrow morning.
Oh, wow.
Coming your way at 6
on.
p.m. Central Time. Eastern is, 5 a.m.? 7 a.m.?
7, yeah.
All right, cool. I thought this was Ian Rappaport for a second. That profile picture. That's a...
Matthew
Smith's resurrected. I thought that you were...
That's a compliment. Ian Rappaport.
I have not heard of whatever Matthew's comment is, so I cannot comment on that comment. So anyways, the rest of season rankings. Christian, the receivers came out last week. We will update those this coming week. We do them bi-weekly, so alternating weeks. Running backs is the name of the game for Week 10. So if you want to check that out, it'll be coming your way at some time, depending on where in the world you're located. What's your thoughts on Van Jefferson admitting he took recreational drugs for the purpose of... Okay. Matthew, that's not an appropriate question for a Q&A segment. I really need to start screening these with my eyes before I say them out loud. All right, we're almost at the bottom. Tommy says you guys are awesome. Thanks, man. Hope you are a subscriber here on the channel. Stay in the SFS community. We'd love to have you here doing whatever it is you want to do in the comment section on a day-to-day basis. We post, 6 videos.
We do like seeing funny comments. So
right. I mean, sometimes I feel like a bad person if I read them out loud, but I still chuckle.
Well, if you post them on the videos, it's fun because we know we don't really have to respond with a serious answer. We can just read them and go on with our lives.
I want to do more lives because I feel like, wow, this was an abomination of a live stream because for those of you who weren't here recently, we were supposed to start the stream at 6. Didn't go live until 6:10. Just to realize that the stream was unlisted, and for those of you who don't have a YouTube channel and know the intricacies of a YouTube studio, unlisted means that only people who have the shareable link to the video can view it and watch it. So no one knew we were live except for the community Discord server, which it's a Thursday night. People are busy trying to watch freaking Thursday Night Football. I'm sitting here wondering, why do we have 5, 3, 2 concurrent viewers? What is going on right now?
What's wrong with us?
And I'm in the middle of a sentence, and I look down, and I say, oh man, we gotta turn this on public, and boom, here you guys came rocking out with us. We did ourselves dirty in terms of how much people were able to see our video today just because of that little blip there. But yeah, join the SFS community if you guys haven't done so already. Click that subscribe button, give today's stream a like. Go check out all the awesome links we've got in the description of today's episode. If you're looking to do some men's grooming, Manscaped, 20% off using code SIZZLE, SIZZLE. Yeah, below the belt grooming, it's not for your head. I might have made a reference to that earlier in the video, but I was just gonna make a really not a stream appropriate joke. So but besides the point, if you want 20% off free shipping, manscaped.com, that's where you get that at. Thrive Fantasy, if you want to make some cash with me tonight, betting, well, you probably can't anymore. Never mind. Thrive for another time. That's off limits. You can't do it anymore. The props have locked for the night. No more Thrive. Okay.
You can do it after the night's over.
All right, we got to finish this off. There are still loyal viewers waiting for their questions to be answered, so I got to finish this off really quick. Start 2 out of the 3. Terry, Marquise, Pittman, CD, Amari, Hopkins. Are you playing 4-man fantasy football? That is a loaded core. All right, at this point, if you did not start Marquise tonight, that's unfortunate. I don't even know if he'd make my top 3, though. I'd probably say Pittman. If Hop plays, it's hard not to play him. I do have Terry as a must-start, so I'd say Terry, Pittman. CD's ankle, we'll see how that works out, but I hope you would have started Marquise. Long story short, though. Most of the good quarterbacks are off the board in this 2QB league. Excuse me. Should I take Fields, Cam, Tyrod, or is there maybe a more underrated? I go Fields. I think Fields is the way to go long-term rest of the season. Who knows? Who knows, Tommy, if Cam will start once Darnold comes back. I hope to God that Cam succeeds and that they don't ever start Sam Darnold again because we tried to root for him. I'm sorry. Eric and I like to be root for the Jets in their rebuilding process because it's fun. You know, you pick a team, you watch them draft, try to rebuild, and create a franchise from the ground up, and that's what the Jets started at this offseason was ground zero. Sam Darnold, and we were cheering for them since like 17 or 18. Whenever they signed Le'Veon Bell was when I personally vested myself in the Jets as a AFC team because obviously I'm a diehard Packer fan. If you're watching this today, you know I'm a diehard Packer fan. Up until this point, maybe not. But the point being here, Sam Darnold has crushed our souls, and we wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt moving into this season. 3-0, Panthers, we're rocking. Everything seems like it's awesome. And then he just starts throwing interceptions, reckless throws, terrible passes, destroying DJ Moore's fantasy value, losing me lots of money. Sam Darnold, I hope the bench treats you well, and I hope that Super Cam comes back. All right. Finishing things off here. Ethan, last second question. Do I put in Bateman instead of Singletary or McKissick full PPR? Yes, I hope you did that, Ethan. I hope you acted on your, I don't want to say it was an impulsive decision. Never mind, it's too late. All right. Sorry, Ethan. Our apologies. We can get back to that sooner. That's on us. We take responsibility for that one. You should have followed your heart. You should have done it. All right, I'm going to head out. Thanks. See you later, JK. I traded Calvin Ridley for Christian Kirk. Was it a good trade? Christian Kirk, ironically, is like the wide receiver 18 right now, or 22. Wide receiver 22.5 PPR scoring. So if Calvin Ridley doesn't come back, it's a win because you got a player. Trying to get a wide receiver for the Kamara owner for Ingram. Do you like Waddle or Renfro more? Waddle. We'll take him every time.
Any Waddle away.
Thanks for the content. 7-2. Thanks to your advice. Hey Ben, glad to hear it. That's awesome. We're making fancy winners this NFL season.
Right.
And we're gonna get you guys all of those championships. Maybe you'll even win so much from your fantasy leagues. You can buy yourself a little custom fantasy football ring. That'd be pretty cool to see. Tommy says he definitely is. I think that was in reference to joining the SFS community, and I'm good for 2 or 3 ridiculous comments a week or so. I love to hear it. Should I be worried of Odell taking targets for Woods? Unfortunately, my man, if you want to rewind and watch my soliloquy as a Packer fan, opening up about my internal feelings, all of the different array of emotions I felt today after hearing that news, you can go back and look at that. In addition to, we broke down the Robert Woods Jefferson situation as well, that being Van Jefferson here with the Rams, the implications of that. Long story short, though, if you don't want to watch the extended version of that, we brought up some stats and pull a few things out of the hat trick there. Robert Woods is someone that I am the bunny rep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You guys get the reference. The magician. He's got the hat.
He's
got the hat, and he brings up the thing.
We put hockey in here.
I'm not a magician yet. Not a hat trick like a little.
Wow.
Yeah. There you go. That's my wrist shot right there. Okay, so yeah, sorry for that, whatever that was. But essentially, Robert Woods is among the players I'm concerned for having negative impacts from that deal. And then lastly here, Jonah. We're going to end out the stream with Jonah. You are the man today. Jonah is shout out
Mr.
to Jonah.
Irrelevant
if this were a live stream draft, you would be the last comment selected. But the last comment's the most important
You're
comment.
more of a Ryan Suckup, though.
That's where we're leaving off, the best Mr. Irrelevant of all time. So Jonah, thank you so much for stopping by the stream today. We'll get you your advice here, and then we'll head on out for tonight and watch some Thursday Night Football. Choose one for the flex. Amari Cooper, Darrell Henderson, DJ Moore, or Terry McLaurin. All fantastic options, I might add. This week, though, I think if you're looking for a floor, you go with your man, Darrell Henderson. I think Darrell Henderson is a very, very quality lineup starter on a week-to-week basis. Love to have him in the lineup. If you want ceiling, I've got him as a must-start player this week. Terry McLaurin is someone who I love his matchup against Tampa Bay secondary. I think that there's reason for optimism in that matchup. But again, the safety net and the floor is in Darrell Henderson. the ceiling is going to be left with Terry McLaurin. So with that being said, we are definitely doing this again. I had a great time just messing around, being a goofball with you guys here on today's stream, answering your questions and talking about the Odell Beckham, the Cam Newton news, breaking down all that stuff, and sharing my sad story as a Green Bay Packer fan. So here's to another season of losing in the NFC Championship game. Here's to another season, though, of great fantasy football success. That's what we're all here for. That's what you're here for, of course, because you don't care about my personal tragedies as a sports fan as much as I might hope you do. So here's to the Packers, NFC Championship being a meme. Here's to winning and having successful Week 10s. Let's do it, man.
Let's do it.
Let's watch some Thursday Night Football. Have a great night, you guys. Thank you all for stopping by the stream. If you've got questions for us still, put those down in the comment section. We'll get to you guys as much as we can. I apologize. I've not been as responsive this week as usual because it's been tough here, being a college student, exams, all kinds of other real-life crap that you got to deal with. It's not so fun about being an adult as you might want to think it is.
We got to make dinner.
We gotta make dinner still. We're hungry. I haven't eaten since breakfast, and that's not okay. I need to eat some food. And the stuff my face with is Skip and Shannon like to say, some Diet Mountain Dew, the nectar of the gods, I think they call it.
They're fans of Diet Mountain Dew. Is that why you drink it?
That's why I started drinking.
Oh,
Shannon Sharp is a legitimate influencer in my life.
Oh, wow.
He influences my day-to-day decisions.
Yeah.
Wow. I love Shannon Sharp. I wanted Odell to go to Green Bay for Woods' sake. I feel you, man. But I wanted him because I'm a selfish Packer fan. That's why I wanted him. And I wanted him because for years I've been seeing these awesome jersey edits of OBJ in a Green Bay Packers uniform. And it'll never happen. After this, there's almost no chance it ever happens. We don't have the cap space. We probably don't have Rodgers next year. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, that was a long way to end a stream. We're heading on out for today. See you guys around.
I'm tired.
Peace out.